Welcome to another Stellaris video, and today I wanted to showcase everything you need to know about merchant guilds, one of the strongest civics in the game. In today's Stellaris video and future episodes of this series, we're going to be going over all the details and things you need to know to maximize the benefits of certain powerful civics in the game, such as merchant guilds. To get started, we're going to start with this basic empire. We have a pretty normal set of species traits here. Just make sure you have something with thrifty or anything that boosts trader efficiency, as that is what merchant guilds scales very well with. And if we take a look at this tooltip, merchant guilds produces 0.4 trade per 100 traders bonus on top of the base value of traders. In case you're not familiar with how Stellaris works, is base values are extremely important when you're discussing the output efficiency of a lot of job types, because the percentage boosts apply on top of the overall base output. This means by stacking leader levels, we can get a really efficient trader job that is extremely powerful and gives us an incredible amount of resources to work with. Then another great thing about merchant guilds is you can start with any set of civics that can be swapped out during a game. This means you can very comfortably start with something like memorialists and parliamentary system at the beginning of the game, and at year 10 swap into merchant guilds where you can start to get the maximum benefits. And for this video, this is going to be exactly what we do. Let's go ahead and get started. However, there is one more thing before we load in game, and that is merchant guilds also scales extremely well with megacorp empires. One of the only weaknesses of merchant guilds is you can't be a megacorp yourself, but very fortunately, you can do something like this. The trading post and franchising civics both give megacorp corporate buildings, specifically the commercial forum, a plus, I believe, 2 trader output for each 100 traders on a planet which this exists on. This can stack on top of the merchant guild's trader output to add a ridiculous amount of trade to your capital. So what I like to do is put 2 of these empires in the galaxy so we can eventually find them and make a commercial pact with them, and they can build branch offices, boosting the efficiency of my trading worlds. This is extremely useful, and you can also play this with your friends playing the megacorp for a really synergistic combination. When playing a Merchant's Guild empire, one of the first things you would like to do is go ahead and check your leaders. We don't happen to have any trader-focused leaders, but if you have one of them, you would like to hire them right away and add them as the governor to your main sector to increase your trader efficiency. In addition, we're going to start on isolationist diplomatic stance because we don't have access to mercantile by starting without merchant guilds and reforming it into year 10. However, if you choose to start with merchant guilds, you should start with the mercantile diplomatic stance and just leave that be. In addition, our starting leader, unlike a lot of empires, is an official with the leader experience gain trait, Eye for Talent. The reason we want this is we're going to be using statecraft to push our leader levels up. In case you don't know how statecraft works, it's a tradition that makes it so that every single time you complete an agenda, your counselor gets some EXP, and we're going to use that to power level our leaders to increase the efficiency gains from merchant guilds. For our first tradition, as you might expect, we're going to open mercantile, and we're going to take adaptive economic policies to increase the amount of unity we get, in addition to trickle-up economics before we start the statecraft tree in order to start doing our leader EXP farming. Also, as you can see, by starting with both parliamentary system and memorialist, we start with a really broken basic economy, and we're already producing 117 unity, and we're going to be adding marketplace of ideas from our mercantile tradition tree to push our unity up even higher, which is very nice because it's going to allow us to get a lot of traditions very quickly. With statecraft activated, you can see that whenever we pass an agenda, our leaders get some XP and might level up. What we're going to do for our leaders is we're going to focus on traits that either help agenda speed or leader experience gain, as these things are going to push our leader levels up even faster, as both agenda speed and counselor experience gain contribute to how fast we can level up our leaders. In addition, we want to immediately expand the council to get a 5th council member as soon as we pass our first agenda, and as you can see, we have the first 2 parts of statecraft, which are extremely important for leveling up your leaders. For your first Ascension perk, there are 2 good options, or even 3. One of them is Transcendent Learning to boost your leader EXP up even more, One Vision just for more unity, or you can even take Executive Vigor, because as I mentioned, Council Agenda Speed does convert pretty well into leader EXP. Just do keep in mind that with Executive Vigor, the 100 Edict Fund is valuable early game but falls off as you go later. Another tip for Merchant Guilds Empires is whenever you're passing an agenda, which when you're under 100 empire size can be done very cheaply once the agenda reaches more than halfway, for just a small unity cost if that's what you want to do. You can always activate Education Campaign just to get that tiny little bit of extra leader EXP for each tick. Just remember to turn it off afterwards, as generally the 12 energy credits isn't worth it in the early game. However, late game you can just leave this on because it's very, very cheap. But for now, we're just going to tick it on every time an agenda passes to get the maximum benefit of, leveling up our leaders quickly. One important skill every single time you play a empire which aims to reform into merchant guilds at year 10 is making sure you get your year 10 election correctly. How you want to do this is once you pass the 10-year mark, you want to immediately make sure that a leader that is not your original main leader, in our case, this person here, Darmuga, we want anyone except them to win this election. Thanks to Stellaris being Stellaris, we can just easily rig this election. Except we're very lucky and we don't need to spend any unity because another leader is already winning this election. If this wasn't the case, we can go ahead and just use the increase support button to boost them up until they would win, and do keep in mind you will need some stockpile of unity for this. Also, in addition, I would highly recommend not disbanding or firing your Minister of State because they're usually one of the more likely positions to actually win the election. I do not know why. Another tip is to make sure you don't upgrade or activate any unactivated leader traits during the election, as this could throw off the results. Otherwise, the order of these usually shouldn't change too much, and you can safely wait until the July month starts, and then you'll have a new leader in your empire, and you are now able to reform your government and finally add merchant guilds and drop things like memorialists and even parliamentary system, as we don't need them anymore. We're also going to go into oligarchic, as this will give our counselor an effective +2 skill level, giving us even more trade via the merchant guild civic. So let's go ahead and add merchant guilds, and you can go ahead and add anything you need as your second civic. It is not too important. I like to go with something like meritocracy, as you can get even more leader experience gain this way. So let's go ahead and add these in and show you our new counselor position. So first of all, you want to put your highest level leader in your Minister of Trade position. Then you want a principal instructor. Put your second highest level leader here. Minister of Research, pretty obvious, your highest level Minister of Research there. And most of the time, you'd like to keep a Minister of State in case you, or Minister of Defense, in case you're planning to go into war. But if you're really min-maxing, you can even take another official class leader. Or not official, sorry. Official. My bad. And this will give us another way to have another leader that might potentially roll into things that can boost trade later on, as the official class leaders have the best trade traits in the entire game when they are made into advisors. Another important skill when playing merchant guilds is forming a trade federation with yourself. This can sometimes be the hardest part of playing merchant guilds, as without a trade federation, the job type is quite efficient but not mind-blowing. As you can see right now, we have 1.3 thousand traders making a decent but not insane amount of trade. Let's go ahead and break this down to find the more exact number. 345 trade. Not the most insane ratio. However, we can get this to be a ridiculous amount more efficient by being in a trade federation, producing more resources from it, and in addition to finding those megacorp empires and having them build branch offices on us. So make sure you explore out into the galaxy, try to make first contact wherever you can, and also try to look for a planet that is 5 or more jumps away from your capital, and start surveying that. We're going to start looking for that now. We should have done so earlier. Also, as you can see, if our empire size is still below 100, which ours happens to be since I haven't colonized my planets, very quickly, we can go ahead and just keep doing this education campaign trick to skip the end of an agenda for a very cheap amount of unity and keep these leader levels cycling higher and higher. Another thing you can do is, as you can see, when we reformed our government, our unity dropped from like 270 down to like 200, is you can just delay reforming your government until like year 13 or 14, or whenever you happen to finish out your 3 tradition trees in order to start Ascension. And that's usually a better idea than rushing into merchant guilds. However, for the sake of this video, I reformed immediately at year 10. Also, now that you have reformed into merchant guilds, you can go ahead and change your diplomatic stance to mercantile. This will make it a lot easier to befriend your neighbors and that kind of thing. And look out in the galaxy for those megacorps, wherever they are. Alright, our first official class leader hits level 4 here, and when that happens, you'll generally want one leader, not your main leader, to be an industrialist to work on your capital. If possible, they would be better off having the trade-focused leader trait. Our only trade-focused leader is a bit bad, so we're just going to skip that, and we're going to make advisors for now. Advisors are what you want most of your council to be, as you can see per advisor, you get boosted leader, or you get boosted trade empire-wide, and you can roll traits that increase your leader trade efficiency even more. Like we can roll investor, we can roll all sorts of stuff that help us out with our empire. Once you have found a planet that has 5 or more jumps from your capital, I have simply used commands to create one here for the purpose of showcasing how to form a trade fed with yourself. Take the system next to this planet and that system, and then send a colony ship in. Once the colony is settled, all you need to do is go into the management screen and create a new sector with this planet. Now you will notice that both these systems are in this sector. You want to make sure you go to this button here, edit the sector, and then you're going to go ahead and turn off auto expand sector and remove any systems that are not the single system with the planet in that area. Once that is done, go ahead and go back to the planets and sector screen, create a vassal, randomized name, or you can give it a custom name, create vassal, and boom, you have yourself your own vassal. Now, all you need to do with them is release them as a subject so they're independent, establish an embassy, improve relations, and otherwise form as many pacts with them as possible, and very, very soon you will be able to form a federation with them. Form Federation is now a tech, so I've just used commands to research all the technologies for me, so we can go ahead and form a federation as soon as we have enough acceptance. As you can see, it does not take very much to get enough acceptance in order to form a pact, so you can either wait some time or change any policies you have that might be lowering this acceptance. For example, I don't think that this empire really likes that we allow wars of aggression, so we're going to go to a war philosophy of defensive wars, and this should increase their likelihood to want to form a federation with us. Boom, now we can immediately form a federation with them, and I guess we're going to have to wait a second for having enough trust. Requires excellent relations or 30 trust, so we'll have to wait for that anyway. This usually doesn't take too long though, with the amount of packs we have and with up to 3 envoys. This usually takes only about a year or 2 before they will be accepting of forming a federation with us. Let's go ahead and wait for that to happen. Another way to speed this up, if you think it's taking too long and if you have some spare resources, is you can send over some resources, and this can often speed the situation up. Also, if you're playing this in multiplayer with a friend, trade the same resources back and forth, and you can immediately get access to a lot more of the diplomacy arrangements as you increase your attitude towards your neighbors. Let's also just go ahead and form federation here, and make sure you click Trade League, and this will give us the really broken trade policy that grants energy credits, unity, consumer goods, and trade. And this is really the core of what can make merchant guilds so strong. Also, as you can see, we have now discovered a lot of alien empires, and what we want to do at this point is, well, first of all, accept all of those, and go ahead and make sure we get friendly with one of these megacorp empires with the trading posts and franchising that we have added into the galaxy, and we can also trade them some resources. Let's go ahead and do that. We have tons of resources saved up since I'm really not playing the game. I'm just kind of showcasing what's going on here. Make sure you get the trade favor to over 100 for the maximum bonus. And then very soon we should be able to make a commercial pact with these guys as well. And yeah, at this point, you've kind of learned everything you need to know to play a really efficient Merchant Guilds empire. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use commands to maximally upgrade this planet and finish the biomorphosis situation, so I can show you guys just how efficient a Merchant Guilds based planet can be in the ultra late game. Now that we are fully purity ascended, the first thing I'd like to show you guys is when you're playing an actual game, you'll need to scale up your population growth at some point in time. The best way to do this is Fallen Empire by Regeneration Institutes. As you can see, I've covered my entire planet with them, and we have, I believe, like 1,000 true pop growth, which is a way to really quickly fill up your planet with jobs. After this is done, we're then going to exchange these out for trade nexuses, galactic commerce hubs, to really maximize our trade, and we'll see how much just this one planet can make in trade. Also, we're going to build a ring around it because ring worlds are extremely helpful and can offer some nice bonuses as well. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. And once this is all done, we will be back and show you guys the final results. In case you're wondering, here's our species template. It's just a pretty general species template. It can be quite a bit stronger when played with overtuned. However, it's also extremely good with either synthetic modularity or just regular machine modularity. Both of them are extremely good for traders as well, and get probably the highest trader efficiency in the game by using modularity traits. However, I'm just using biomorphosis here as a showcase, as biomorphosis is probably the most commonly played ascension these days. Alright, the last kind of major efficiency boost we haven't added yet is indeed that commercial pack. So let's go ahead and form it with our neighbor here, forming this commercial pack, and very soon they should build a commercial forum on our capital here. I suspect the building to start anytime soon, and I'll be back once that's done to show you guys the results. Currently, alright, let's take a look at our trade production, which is a lot, 46,000. Let's take a look at that after this commercial hub finishes. Alright, unfortunately, the AI had not enough influence and took forever to build these buildings, so I didn't get to record the exact amount this boosted us up by, but as you can see, produced per 100 trader jobs is up 0.75 from the commercial forum. Merchants +1 efficiency for merchants is nice as well, so giving us an overall decent boost to trade, and this planet is now up to 70,000 trade production with 0 ascension tiers. Let's go ahead and ascend this to the max and see what we get to then. And now with max ascension tier and a government reform to add an ascensionist, you can see we're up to basically 100,000 trade from a single Ecumenopolis planet, basically supplying an entire late game economy's worth of resources. This planet is making us 15,000 energy credits, it's making us 15,000 consumer goods, 50,000 trade, and 15,000 unity from just one single planet, meaning you only have to focus on 3 resources: alloys, minerals, and I guess strategic resources as well, and research, making any empire extremely easy to manage. In addition, with 50,000 trade, you can really easily buy resources at a really bad rate. And this isn't even that hard to set up in a real game, as I didn't even need to use commands to add pops, as in the just 10 years, our pops grew to this amount with purity. Sometimes it can be annoying to roll the Biomolecular Institute. Also, you'd like to leave about 3 or 4 on your planet, as they do give pop efficiency from purity, which is very cool. And if you're modularity, you don't need to do that. But yeah, this is, just to showcase that just how powerful trade is. By the way, our orbital ring looks like this: a gigamol giving plus 5% trader output, and then the orbital stock exchange giving, I think, 20% trader output, right? And then we have another 20% from the galactic stock exchange, or 15%, my apologies. And every single one of these gives another half a trade per 100 traders, which is really crazy. And last but not least, at this point in the game, with your tradition tree done, you can go ahead and just constantly, turn on the edict education campaign, right? And you can just go ahead and pass agendas at will in order to increase the amount of leader levels you have, which is of course fantastic. So let's go ahead and just quickly run through a whole bunch of agendas. Right, we can really kind of pass them at any cost because we have so much unity at this point. And we don't even have our 5th leader yet, by the way, or our 6th leader. Every time you get investor, you want to take that for additional percentage gains on the already ridiculous amount of trade we're getting. And yeah, you can use this to very quickly cycle your leaders to max level. In an actual game, I would highly recommend focusing on the architectural sense trait as well for all your advisors, as building speed is one of the limiting factors. Of course, I have instant build on for the sake of this video showcase, And yeah, as you can see, we're going to have a lot of ways here to very, very quickly increase our leader efficiency, which is one of the main benefits of this build in the first place. We can add a Minister of Defense back in, and yeah, as you can see at this point, the game is basically trivialized. And it's just one of the powers of merchant guilds. I believe it's my favorite late game civic, one of my favorite late game civics at least, because it simply gives such an insanely ridiculous amount of resources from one single planet, which is a way I like to play. Right, I like to be relatively tall when it comes to the number of planets I have. I don't like managing galaxy-wide empires. I'd prefer to be strong on just a few planets, and merchant guilds makes this abundantly possible without even that much effort. As you can see, we're at 110,000 trade now after managing our leaders a little bit, which is amazing, and they're not even max level yet, so that will only get better. And in case you think this is unrealistic to pull off, let me quickly show you guys one of the builds I've showcased before, but I play this in most of my Bioascension builds with merchant guilds, and I'll show you what I did in real games without cheats to show you that this is very practical to set up as well. In a real game here, this is kind of more what I have my planet layout like. It's half tech, half commercial nexus, and this single half commercial nexus is providing the basic economy for this entire Biomorphosis empire here at year 89. And because Merchant Guild is so efficient, I don't even need more than this. And you can see I didn't even manage my leaders very well. I mean, my council leaders are great, right? But like my the leader governing this actual planet could be better. Could be better. And even still, 17,000 trade is still a ridiculous amount for a planet that's only half dedicated to trade and not even filled up, right? And yeah, like this empire has already basically entered creative mode level of resources and fleet power, and we can do kind of whatever we want to at this point in the galaxy. And yeah, all this from just a few planets and through the power of merchant guilds. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to see more videos covering different civics, please stay tuned. I want to do more of these in the future, as I want a more compact form of content that delivers, useful information to all you fellow Stellaris players out there. And subscribe for more. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.